Well, what's going on, Facebook family? It's your main man, Joe Dupree, in the building with my brother, Edward J. Brown, on this 10th day of August as we get into this thing that we call Wellness Wednesday.
Count down, my brother. Count down to get down.
Count down to get down.
My birthday is August 25th. So count down to get down, man.
Count down to the get down. Well,
that's right.
Without any further ado, my brother man, I'm good. How you doing?
You know, it's a day-to-day struggle, but I'm too strong to fall. I'm too strong to fall. You know,
I know that's real.
I might stumble here and there, but I ain't going down for the count.
You too old to fall.
I'm too old. What Mr. say? I'm too hard to fall apart. I'm too cold to get old. I'm too hip to trip.
That's it, baby. That's it.
It'll be all right, man.
So let's get into this thing we call Wellness Wednesday, man. With no further ado, my brother from another mother, brother Edward J. Brown.
All right, what's going on, good people? I am truly blessed and honored to be here this Wednesday. You know, we take for granted that every Wednesday we're going to get together and we're going to give good information. But this particular Wednesday, I feel extra blessed. And I wanted to talk about something that I think, you know, we've done a lot of Wellness Wednesdays. We've done Wellness Wednesdays that talked about everything from parenting to anger management to suicide. And I want to go way back and talk about this one particular thing that is needed to make all of this work. And that's communication. We need to talk about communication. Being able to talk about anything. And, you know, it may sound very simplistic, but it is more intricate than we believe because everybody has their own communication patterns.
Correct.
Everybody talks and communicates differently.
Correct.
And sometimes the lack of the ability to communicate makes things very, very, very problematic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how many times you say, well, all you had to do was tell me. And the person say, I did. And you're like, I don't remember you saying that. You remember when I went like this? And I was like, you just went. So we may think that communication is a problem, but right now in this world, in our society, the reason that you see breakdown on so many different levels is because people are not communicating.
Correct. Technology
has taken away the art of communication. We beat that horse so many times. But today, I want to take about the first 30 minutes to talk about how important communication is and what can go wrong if you don't have good communication skills. And in the second part of the hour, I like to talk about what can we do to improve our ability to be approachable.
Okay.
You know, because that's what really determines whether or not someone will communicate with you. And did they feel you were approachable at the time they needed to talk? And when I say approachable, I don't mean available. That's two different things.
Yeah, break that down.
Yeah, see, we're going to talk about what it means to be approachable, and then we're going to talk about what it means to be available. All right, so when we look at the ability to communicate, even when we go back to what they called Neanderthalish days or caveman days in layman terms, the biggest issue was, well, they didn't know how to communicate. They communicated with grunts, and I say, I beg to differ. You know, because there's some things that you can communicate without saying a word.
Right. Correct.
Hey, watch this. And then I'm only going to stay on this 1 second. Cavemen had babies, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
So they knew how to communicate what they wanted.
Right.
And the cave woman knew how to communicate what she wanted.
Correct.
So when we look at communication, let's talk about the different types of communication. The first thing we have to talk about is nonverbal. Now, that started from the time we were children. Your mama will say, now, let me tell you something. Don't make me have to talk to you when we go in here. Now, wherever it may be, it could be a friend's house or another family member. There was what we called the what? The look.
Right.
That was it. Sometimes the look was more than enough to communicate her thoughts. For my mama, she would do it with a lean. And I knew when I saw the lean, I was like, uh-oh, I must be doing something she not all right with. Communication. Nonverbal. How does a woman tell you she's interested and y'all haven't said a word? And when I say interested, I mean she's flirting, as they say. There's cues like they twirl their hair. They bat their eyes.
That's right.
They kind of, give that little submissive, flirty smile. All of these are just drops in the bucket of all of the nonverbal communication. Now, believe it or not, Brother Dupree, the nonverbal is way more simplistic than the verbal. Verbal can be very complex. Now, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. You've heard this before, and if you haven't, you'll be able to definitely understand it. There was a brother Allison, many years ago, who said that standardized tests were racist, and they were culturally biased. So he used certain terms. He said, you got little Billy from the suburbs, white middle-class family, and you got Akeem from the inner city.
Right.
And you sit them down and you say, okay, here's the test. What is a crib? Little Billy communicates, a crib is where my mother and daddy put my baby sister when it's time for her to go to bed. You ask little Akeem, what is a crib? He's going to say, oh, that's where we live. You know, me, my mama, my daddy, my brother, we all live at the crib. And they're like, oh, okay, well, no, that's wrong. Now I'm really about to tell on you and me, Brother Dupree.
Come on.
If somebody asks you, what's a deuce and a quarter? You'll say, well, it's a playing card and it's a form of currency. Me and you, like, that's an electric 222.
That's it. Oldsmobile.
Oldsmobile electric 222. Used to ride up and down the street. Everybody said, oh, a deuce and a quarter.
Yes, sir.
Now, for the last one, you can ask little Billy, what is an old lady? Well, that would be my grandmother or anyone over the age of 65. You ask Akeem, what's an old lady? What do you think he's going to say? Oh, that's a girlfriend.
Right.
That's when you get your girlfriend. So when we start looking at communication, we have to take into account cultural influences. Now, we maybe been a little lighthearted, but let's go a little deeper. There's family communication patterns. Sometimes yelling and being loud and boisterous is just the way your family communicated. And then there's those families where everything is, yes, dear, Oh, no, dear. Oh, come. Yes, father. Mother, did you say something? If they came into that household like, boy, if you don't go sit down somewhere, and before you sit down, bring me a bottle of water, because I'm so tired of talking to y'all. That kid go grab the bottle of water, take his money. He's not crying. His feelings are not hurt, because that's normal communication patterns in his life. We don't take for granted. We take for granted that it being the first day of school, many places around this country, we have children who are starting school for the first time. You know, the first thing the teacher has to do, find out what is their communication type.
That's correct.
Do they deal well with redirection and assertiveness? Or are they very, temperamental and don't do real well if someone, kind of, push back on? We can do a whole show on the communication patterns between men and women. I heard another podcast I was listening to the other day, and they asked, is it okay, because it seems to be common practice today for women to be the aggressor? Now, some men don't feel comfortable with that. Hey, I saw you from across the room. I came over and wanted to give you my phone number. I think you're a handsome looking man. Okay. And they get thrown off. We are sending our children to school, and we have to equip them with good communication patterns so they can grow up to be adults that are able to convey how they feel.
Correct.
So now you'll say, why is it important for us to communicate? One, communication exchanges ideas and thoughts. Brother Dupree, I've been, in the middle of going through a lot of things with work and some family stuff and just some personal things, trying to get my health, my weight together, and wanting to be more fit going into a birthday in another couple of weeks.
I understand.
I had to communicate, because anybody who knows me know I'm the real live cookie monster. I love cookies. I love cookies. So I have to say, when people say, oh, Mr. Brown, we went and got cupcakes, I put 2 or 3 of them on your desk. Now, I could easily say, why are you trying to sabotage? Yeah, well, right. They didn't know I had taken on this quest to not eat cookies, donuts, and pastries.
Correct.
So I had to be able to communicate that. But we do not feel comfortable with this lost art of communication. Why do you think that is, Brother Dupree?
Because most people talk to be right, not talk to listen or to be heard.
Mm-hmm. That's the reasoning behind the communication. That's true. That is so true. People would rather talk and not let you say anything, because then that means you don't get a chance to tell them they're wrong.
Right.
But most people, human behavior research says, people are losing the art of communication because the fear of rejection has skyrocketed. It's skyrocketed. We can take a cell phone and talk and be whoever we want to be, and nobody will know, because we behind the phone.
Right.
But if we on this podcast right now, anybody that's watching this podcast can call. Correct. And they can give me pushback on what I'm teaching tonight.
Right. Or they can chime in, or they can text in. Right. In any way that they would want to do so. The thing that somebody said this to me today, like today, I winded up getting tons of phone calls today because a national syndicated talk show individual mentioned my name. Mm-hmm. And it's funny to me when people wind up in a position of this is why folks are talking about you. They don't seem to understand. So I happen to know this person personally. So I called him and asked him, hey, man, heard you said something. He played the audio back to me. And I said, well, that wasn't that bad. I said, why are everybody calling me? He said, they're calling you because they want it to be bad.
That's right. That's right.
He said, what I said was the truth. The truth is, and sadly, a lot of people get into this podcasting, video podcasting, journalism, conversations, talking, being on social media. Here's what I tell people. You can't get out here on this platform and talk about folk. And then get mad when folk talk about you and you turn around and play and you play the victim role when they talk about you.
Exactly.
No, sir. No, sir. If you're able to dish it out, you should be able also, right. You should be also able to take it.
You better be able to take it. And that implies communication.
Correct.
You know, it is not communication if I'm the only one talking.
Real talk.
Communication requires an exchange. The same way you are giving, you must be willing to receive. And when we start to look at the inability to communicate, it directly is directly impacted by your level of maturity.
Correct.
You know, if you told me is what, you know, there's an old cliche. You don't ask questions you don't really want to know the answer to.
Right. Bingo.
You know what I mean? You don't ask questions. You don't. So if you look at me and say, does this dress make me look fat? My response is always going to be the same. How do you feel about it?
Correct.
Because you may not want to hear you asked me for it, but you really don't want me to say, hell yeah.
Hold on. I remember a movie where a guy said, you can't handle
the truth. Exactly. So the first thing about communication is be willing to understand you cannot control another person's input in the conversation. I love those conversations where I don't know the direction it's going to go in, because sometimes some of the best ideas are exchanged. I don't need someone that I know what they're going to say, what they're going to respond, how they're going to feel. Let it be. That's me. I'm okay with those kind of conversations. Some people are not. We have to get back to where, if we're looking at communicating, what is the art of communication? It is the exchange, not just one way. You talk to, I hate those conversations where I'm sitting in a room and I'm watching two people communicate, and then one of them's talking and they're talking and they're talking, and the other person say, but I'm talking. Let me finish. Well, when are you going to be finished? Because I figure if you've been talking for 30 minutes, at some point, I should have a right to have some input in the conversation.
Correct.
But that's not a conversation if you talking and then I say, well, no, let me finish. Brother Brown, let me finish. Well, are you going to ever be finished?
Correct. It's almost like when you hear a attorney say what he needs to say in closing remarks. The other attorney does not
get
in any shape, form, or fashion, right, can interject while he's making his closing remarks. That is his reserved time to say what he needs to say. Sometimes you need to listen, and other times you need to talk. And you need to understand that when it is your turn to listen, if you receive it correctly in the communications, your responses should not be necessarily to make you right, but to make the other person understand, A, you understand what they said, and B, this is your point of view on what they said.
Correct. If during the conversation you believe a person's intent, see, this is where we're going to get into the second half of the hour, where we start talking about what is the impact of lack of communication. But right now we can segue into that by saying one of the few things you have to take into account when someone disagrees with you, okay, is their intent malicious? Are they disagreeing with me because they really just disagree? You know, I always use the example especially when I'm talking to young kids about disagreeing. I said, okay, let me ask you a question. Is Lil Wayne the best rapper alive? Oh, Wayne is this, Wayne is that. I said, okay, I said that because I not only don't believe he's the best rapper alive, he ain't the best rapper out of Louisiana. So and they say, oh, you crazy. I said, now, we can disagree without my intent being malicious.
Right.
I'm not going to say, oh, you stupid for thinking Lil Wayne is the best. Weezy ain't this. I'm not going to say that because my intention is not to attack you. We just have a difference of opinion.
Correct.
Now, you want to know one of the best communicating forums that there is that people constantly disagree, and it's been going on for decades?
Talk to me.
SWAC football.
Yes, sir.
You can get a stadium full of one side, and they're gonna talk trash. Oh, y'all ain't this, y'all ain't that, and they're gonna go at it the entire game. But when that game is over, there is a sense of camaraderie. There is a sense of fellowship that comes. The game over. Now, you still have some folks that's mad their team didn't win, but the pleasure comes in the exchange, in interacting. I remember going to the Southern FAMU game last year, and man, it went back and forth. And the dude behind me was for FAMU, and he in the middle of the Southern section. So I'm always the most trash talking in my section. So me and him going back and forth at the whole game. And when the game was over, I've never left being a Southern Knight where I've never left a game before the alma maters played.
Okay.
So we was talking trash, and when the game was over, they squeaked out by a couple of points in the last few seconds of the game. Alma mater was playing. I stood up, and then he waited. He stood behind me, and when the alma mater was done playing, he leaned over and he tapped me on the shoulder. He said, "Man, I was so scared we was gonna lose that one, but I ain't had this much fun in about 5 years. I'm glad we in the SWAC." You know, and I was like, now, welcome to the SWAC, because this is how it is. We talk trash about one another, and after it's all over, come by the house, come by the table or the tent and get you something to eat.
Right. Come by the RV and let's hang out.
Come by the RV and let's hang out.
Let's talk about one thing I think needs to be brought up right quick before we get into the second hour. Okay. Is how easily, when false information is given in a communication, it sometimes can spread like wildfire. Prime example, somebody today put out on social media, who in the world allowed their child to show up at school today with monkeypox? And so people began to feed into it, and I started watching the little feed. But then finally somebody said what I was thinking the whole time. It couldn't have been Lafayette Parish because our schools haven't even started yet. So finally somebody said, "Ma'am, are you talking about our parish?" And she said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "I heard on the radio that somebody let their kid go to school with monkeypox." She said, "Well, it couldn't have been our parish.
We haven't started school."
See, once again,
it took it around, didn't it?
And watch this. It's just like the call I got today. We've got to be careful what we say. Everybody who is on these platforms communicating and giving out information are not professional journalism. The journalists have anything to know about. Some of them are just talking because they want to be popular, you know, and that's why something you said earlier, my mother used to say all the time, the truth comes out in the wash. You know, a lot of folks say, well, I'm here for this, I'm here for that, I'm here for these, I'm here for those. No, a lot of folks are on here because they want to self-serve themselves. Correct. They want you to look at them as the expernato for whatever they say they are once they come on, and then that makes more people follow them and follow, you know. But the truth about it is, I tell everybody, once all the smoke clear and everybody's gone, are you still doing this when ain't nobody watching?
Correct.
See, to me, you are who you are when ain't nobody watching.
When ain't nobody. Guess what, Brother Dupree? I do mental health every day.
Thank you.
Not just on Wednesdays. I do it every day.
Thank you.
You know.
Thank you.
But we have to go back to what you're saying, because it's very profound. We will gobble up anything that people will put out there.
Right.
And my grandfather used to tell me, just because somebody say something don't mean you need to respond back.
Correct.
So once somebody said, who let their child go to school? And I realized, well, school haven't even started here.
Right. So
you
wait a minute.
On the radio. You couldn't heard it on the radio.
So wait a minute. So let's not call it a non-truth. A non-truth on social media has over 120 comments and over 75 shares. Now, here's the thing about it. The person is saying, who allowed their child in Lafayette to go to school? Well, first of all, your child couldn't have went to school in Lafayette because the school ain't started in Lafayette. But once again, all it takes, and see, people who are savvy know this. And see, a lot of times I think people go on social media, people get on these platforms, and they use it as their own bully pulpit.
Correct.
To leash out at folks and make other folks jump in line and leash out with them also, either as them, the victim, or as the other person as the villain. At the end of the day, my new thing is, if we would take as much time getting ourselves together as we do trying to correct other folks, what a wonderful world this would be.
Okay, as you would say, can you say that for the people in the cheap seats in the back?
I'll say it again, my friend. Hold it. Let me talk to Joe Dupree. Joe Dupree, if you would take care of getting yourself together as much as you sometimes partake in talking about other folks getting themselves together, what a wonderful world, Joe, this would be. Handle your business. Take care of you. Make sure you got yourself together. See, because here's the crazy thing. I tell people all the time, it's hard for you to throw rocks when you yourself live in a glass house.
Correct. Exactly. You know better, or you should know better. You should know better. We are too easily guided by nonsense. And we have to be more selective in who we allow to introduce information, communication into our culture. We have to be careful, because not everybody is there for the right reason. Now, this second part of the hour is probably something we can spend the entire hour on. And my thing with that is, what happens when the communication patterns are completely shut off? People who are unable to communicate are people who feel that they're isolated and all alone. It manifests itself in other ways. You will be surprised how many young people will tell me, I love coming to therapy with you because this is the only time I get a chance to say anything. What do you mean? Well, around my house, my daddy do all the talking. Don't nobody else say nothing. I stay in my room, keep the door closed. How do you know when someone is struggling or suffering if we don't communicate with them?
Correct.
And we have too often, we see people who attempt suicide or who are just in major depression, and people say, well, I didn't know. I got a very famous, and I think anybody that set foot on any HBCU campus will know this gentleman. His name is Cat Eye. And Cat Eye is an Omega that's famous from one end of this country to the other end of this country. And Cat Eye and I went to Southern together. And I love the way our exchange whenever we see each other, because I do it on purpose, because I know what he's going to say. Every time I see him, and he lives in Natchez now. Every time I see him, I say, man, I ain't seen you in a long time. And you know what his response always is? You ain't looking for me. You ain't looking for me. You weren't looking for me. And I love when he say that, because it's true. I'm like, man, where you been, man? I ain't seen you in a long time. You ain't been looking for me. So one of the things about it is we have people in our community, in our lives, that's struggling, and we're not saying, well, you say, well, I didn't know. Well, you didn't ask.
Right.
Because we're not communicating the way we should. We take for granted everything is okay because people don't ask. I'm about to put my brother on the spot, and I know he won't mind. Every week we get together. When I log on, the first thing this brother say, man, how you been doing?
Right.
You doing all right?
Right.
How's everything going?
Right.
And I know he's not saying that just because he doesn't have anything else to say. He's truly, legitimately interested in what's been going on.
Yeah, because your well-being is my well-being.
Yeah, and we communicate throughout the week and other times as well. But you know,
speaking of which, hold on. Speaking of which, I hate to put this in the show. Speaking of which, I sent you a communication about a referral. So hopefully that individual will give you a call.
We'll get on.
Because there are people out there, and this is a time that I need to take time out and tell folks this right quick while we at the midway part of the show, and I'm gonna post this right there. There it is, positivechoicescounseling.org. Listen, family, you might be listening to this and you might say, man, I need somebody to help me with mental health issues, with counseling issues. I need somebody to talk to about my depression, my PTSD. I may have a problem with some type of substance abuse. Mm-hmm. Listen, I recommend my brother right here and his great organization, which is Positive Choices Counseling. And you can go to positivechoicescounseling.org and see everything they have to offer and how they themselves can help you when you have issues with not being okay, because it's okay not to be okay. What is not okay is to not be okay and not seek help to get yourself back together. Because guess what? If you were sick, you would go to a doctor.
With no hesitation.
Right. Some of us have illnesses that are mental in nature that we need a healing, and you need to go to the proper people to make sure that you get exactly what you need, that you become healthy and whole. Because I always say a healthy you is a better you. Back to my brother, Edward J. Brown.
So, you know, we have to understand that if we do not get it out, it is going to manifest itself in other ways. I cannot be more clear-cut and open than that. If you do not communicate and you do not get thoughts, feelings, ideas out of your head, they will manifest themselves in other ways, aka depression, anxiety, you know, things like that. So I always tell people, talk. If you don't talk, look, you see these all over my office. We have notepads, books, and we constantly writing in here. People have to understand it's no different than if you constantly put garbage in the trash can.
Right.
If you don't take it out at some point, what happens? It begins to smell.
Right.
It begins to stink. You have to get rid of it. You have to throw it out. The psyche and our minds work the same way. Throughout the day, we fill up. People always ask me, well, what do you think about dreams? Dreams is the subconscious way of emptying itself. It's the way of dealing with things that run around in the subconscious. You know, I've had dreams that I've been having since I was a teenager. Same dreams. I have new dreams. It is the mind's way of exercising itself, getting rid of things that we need to really be done with, revealing certain things. I think that we have to get to the point where we understand communication is important for our mental well-being. We cannot say it any more plain and clear than that.
Right.
Communication. Here's the thing: appropriate communication. You know, I have people who say, "Well, I talk all the time, and he doesn't say anything." And you ask him, "Well, why don't you say anything?" "I don't have anything to say." But he'll spend 2 or 3 hours playing poker with his friends and he won't shut up. So you have to find out, and this is where being a therapist for 33 years and having experience, you know, up the wazoo, all you have to do, and I try to teach this to my students, you have to find out what that person's thing is. You start a session and you want to be counselor extraordinaire. That person don't even know if they like you yet.
Right.
So why don't you just get to know them? I know Brother Dupree, if you came in my office right now, I'm like, you know, so tell me about radio. You know, what do you feel about radio and mass communication? Or about, oh, you would light up. The first time we met, we sat out at that coffee shop, and
yes,
you was like, listen, you remember that? You were like, man, I've been doing this for a long time, and found out we both was, you know, loved Southern University, and you know, and we connected before we started talking about reaching people with a podcast.
Correct. Me and you were on the level. We that's why, you know, that's even like now when we show up in places and we do things and people see us together, they know that, man, them two dudes, you know, the funny thing, I had somebody literally reach out to me and say, man, how long they feel like we've been rocking since we were kids. They tell me, man, I know you and that dude been rocking since y'all were kids. I said, well, if I really told you the truth,
I know.
You wouldn't believe me. You wouldn't believe me.
The chemistry. The chemistry is the chemistry.
Right.
And the connection is the connection. And that goes back to our ability and willingness to communicate. If you had come and we sat down at that table and I just looked at you, when you got up and left, you would say, you know what? It ain't gonna work. Me and that brother's not gonna be able to do anything together. But I was excited about what you were saying you could do. You were excited about the things that I brought to the table.
Right. It was a win-win. Yeah. Everybody was winning. It was like, look, and see, and look, people, I hope some young folks and some folks who do this, listen, family. I really want to tell y'all this, and this is going to really work with this Wellness Wednesday because I really want y'all to be well and I want you to win. Don't get out there and try to do something trying to be like somebody else. Get with somebody who you work together well with, and y'all figure out whatever that niche is. If that niche is selling ice cream, sell ice cream and be the best ice cream sellers on this planet. If that niche is, like, I have a couple of young people I know right now, we laugh and joke. They have a portable video gaming trailer that they do and set up.
I've seen that. I was going to rent it for my grandson's birthday party.
Hold it. And a lot of folks come to me and say, hey, man, with as much as you do with video voiceovers and video game playing, why don't you join up with them? It wasn't meant for me to be that piece with them. Correct. So when I did meet with them, all I told them was, look, fellas, if y'all need my help in any shape, form, or fashion, let me know. But y'all got this. Yeah. Listen, family, I understand everybody feel like everybody can do this. Trust me. Yeah. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Man. But whatever you do, make sure you get the right team around you with the right chemistry, that even when you don't see 2,000 likes, 2,000 views, you still keep doing it because you see the greater good and the purpose of what you're doing. We do this because we know that somebody somewhere, and if we just help one person, I don't care if you run into me in the store and you know me or not. I could care less. I don't care if you come and pat me on my back. I could care less. At the end of the day, I want one person who thought about committing suicide to say, no, I saw
saw you.
Wellness Wednesday.
I did.
I went and found somebody to talk to, and I did not take my life. If that one person ain't never got to tell me that they saw us, heard us, long as I know in my heart of hearts that we help one person, guess what? We will do this until the wheels fall off.
That's genuineness. That's what genuineness means. And I've had students and I've had friends that say, man, I can't make it at 8 o'clock. You know, if y'all did it a little earlier, I could do it. But I go back and I watch it, and I get some good information to help me, you know, with my kids. I get good information to help me with what I've been going through on the job and things like that. And I'm like, that's the point of why we do this. That's why we continue to do what we do every Wednesday. And one of my students told me just yesterday, she said, did you do mental health Mondays too? Because I saw something that said, I said, yep, I started teaching on Mondays. So we had to move it from Monday night to Wednesday night, Wellness Wednesday. Oh, okay, so that's you on mental health Mondays too. I said, it is. We're trying to put information out that people can utilize to better the quality of their life.
Correct.
Simple as that. Simple as that. So as we start to wrap up, I want to talk about what do you do if you do not have anyone that you can talk to, or you feel like there's no one you can talk to. Trust me. Believe me when I say this. There's always someone that's willing to listen to you. And it may be that person you least suspect.
Right.
But what you must do is talk. I got to tell this story real quick.
Go ahead.
When I was in New Orleans, there's a lady, and if you ever watched the movie Dead Man Walking with Sean Penn and Susan Sarandon, it's called Dead Man Walking.
Okay.
Susan Sarandon plays a lady named Sister Helen Prejean. And when I was in New Orleans, I was doing the program I was in. There was always a group on Monday nights of these ladies and this woman. And I didn't know who she was. And I remember, you know, she said, I want to talk to you for a second. She said, I'm getting ready to leave and go work at Angola full-time on death row. And I need someone to take over the Survive group. And I'm like, I'm not, you know, willing to do that. That's Monday nights. It's Monday Night Football. So, and she was like, I don't want to hear that. I want you to take it over. Well, I did. Okay. And this is the point of the story. There were 6 ladies. And everyone in that group had lost a child to violence, the streets of New Orleans. That's what the Survive group was. It was mothers, and we didn't have any men, but it was mothers of homicide victims. And there was this one lady that would come every week and not say a word. I mean, that woman would sit there and she would go through the 2-hour group. And then after the 2-hour group, she would walk over, and we always had refreshments. She would eat, and then she would leave. So I did the group for like 6 months. And I remember going into my supervision one time, and I told my supervisor, I said, I got this woman that come every week. I don't think I'm doing her any good because she never says anything. And he looked at me and he said, then why does she come? He said, it's not court ordered. It's not mandatory. This is just a support group. Why does she come? I said, I don't know. That's a good question. I did the group for almost 2 years. And then I was leaving to come to Natchez. And we had a farewell, the last group. And everybody came, and my family came, and, you know, my coworkers came, and this woman came, and she came up to me and she said, I want to thank you. And I was so shocked because in 2 years, that's the first time I'd ever heard that woman's voice. And I said, you're very welcome. She said, no, let me tell you why I want to thank you. She said, I would come to this group with you. And then that's on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Every day I thought about ending my life. because I lost my only child. She said, but waiting till the next Monday is what got me through. And I looked at her, I said, I used to wonder why you would come because you never said anything. She said, if I didn't come here, I wouldn't be here right now. She said, I lived to come back to following Monday. And I said, well, now I'm kind of concerned. She said, oh, no. She said, you helped me now, so much so that I'm helping women in my church now. I said, all this time, I didn't think I was doing, you any good. She said, you have no idea. And that is the premise behind this podcast we do every Wednesday. Someone, somewhere, sometime is going to pull one of these podcasts out of the archives, and they're going to say, you know what? That helped me. It helped me understand communication, the need to purge. If you don't have anyone to talk to, write it down.
Right.
Get you a journal. Every time I go somewhere and I see journals on sale for $3, $4, and $5, I buy as many as I can and stick them in my drawer because I give them to clients. And it's the nice ones, the ones with the leather binder and everything on.
Come on.
So yeah, I don't give no trash, Brother Dupree. I'm looking for one right now, but I can't. I give the nice ones because I want you to be able to write your thoughts and your feelings down when you don't have anyone to talk to about them until you can come and see me. I challenge folks, if you watch this after we're done with it, we're going to have people to start calling because I'm getting ready to go back to school.
Right.
And Alcorn's getting ready to start back up. And I'm going to have my students call in. And I'm going to have them talk about things that are relevant to being a young college student with a lot of pressures of being successful and or family issues. But people have to feel comfortable talking about mental health.
Right. Look, I mean, I really don't know how to stress this enough. It's okay not being okay. And understand this, that everybody's not going to agree with how you are or how you should fix you or how you should do what you should do to become whole. Long as you know what's good for you and you begin to take the steps to correct and self-correct. That's to me the biggest part of self-love, when you can call your own self out on your own stuff and begin to bring it to a place where it no longer is the issue. A healthy you is a better you. A lot of us have been dropped, not to our own fault. We have been dropped and we do not know how to respond because in dropping us, we winded up injured, deformed, and hurt. And we have not recovered from the dropping. So sometimes you just got to look yourself in the eye and say, you know what? I'm not okay. And watch this. As you say in many a podcast, hurt people hurt people. Mm-hmm. People who are not hurting are not hating, and they are not hurting other folks.
I'll never forget the first time I was ever called fat when I was in grammar school. And it was funny to me. And the guy looked at me and he said, "What you laughing at?" I said, "Here's the interesting thing. I'm relevant enough in your life." And I was even saying this back then. I could have been maybe in the 5th grade. I was like, I'm so important to you that you taking time out of your recess to come and talk about me. I said, I'm going over here and play football. You can keep talking right here, but we only got 15 minutes recess. I said, but, I guess, I'll be your friend. I don't understand, and he was looking at me like I tried to hurt his feelings and he laughed at me. A person that will take time out of their personal life to attack someone through communication and through talking, that's a lonely person. And I say that as a professional.
Right.
Brother Dupree, I don't have a moment in my life to waste talking about anybody.
Right. Right.
I just got so much going on, from writing a book to working with clients to, trying to get healthy. And I don't really have time to gossip and talk about people. I'm sorry. You want to talk about something productive? I will make time for that.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of, being angry at people who talk, you should really pity them because they got too much time on their hands.
Right.
What Mystical say? You need to get some business about yourself. He need to get some business about himself too, by the way. That brother need to get his life. Anyway.
That's
one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites. Hey, Mystical, if you ever see this, call me, man. I mean, really, call me.
So brother Michael Tyler, all I'm saying is this, and I want people to understand. And I really need to say this and allow you to, we'll go as long as we need to go. Yeah, people need help.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of folk need help. And you got to understand, a lot of folk out there with a lot of problems, present company included. You just might not see my problem, see my issue.
We all have issues.
Once again, what I've noticed, and we need to do this for one of our Wellness Wednesdays, we need to talk about the weaponization of social media.
Ooh, baby, that's a 2-hour-long podcast right there.
Shoot, that might be a month-long podcast. Yeah. We might do A, B, C, D. Because once again, I am watching folks weaponize their platforms into vicious attacks on folks. And then here's the thing. It's a difference between reporting the truth and trying to desecrate somebody and viciously attack them. There is a big difference. And that's why sometimes I had to laugh at a person, Dr. Joyce Evans, who is a great professor at Grambling State University in the communications department. See, everybody, there's a reason why they give degrees in journalism. Mm-hmm. That's why people who are in journalism have a certain decorum and a certain level of expectations and a certain rule of law and ethics, and then when you get some folk get on here and just they loose lip now and don't care who.
I agree.
Who they play scorched earth on social media. Yeah. What they say, they don't care who they burn. Yeah. Until somebody reciprocates and tries to burn them. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden, Houston, there's a problem.
Yeah. What social media has done? It has taken the art of passive aggressiveness to a whole nother level.
Come on.
Where you say little things with undertones or with little hidden messages in it.
Right.
You can make certain posts and people are like, is that about me? Who you saying that about? Social media has taken passive aggressiveness to another level.
Correct.
And you see people say, because a real man ain't gonna do this, and a real man, well, who are you talking about?
Right. Hold on. And that's the thing. I have discovered that Facebook and certain social media platforms have made it that you can conveniently become a behind the camera keyboard gangster.
That's what we talk about. Communication has changed. We have some of the most coward people in the world talk like they really about that life, and they're not.
See, and I give you a prime example, and folks really should learn from this, and because it's going to be more situations like this to come to pass. So if you remember the guy from InfoWars, he went out there and said the Sandy Hook thing was a hoax.
Oh yeah. I remember
that. Now he has been found now in contempt and has been found to have to pay a lot of money because you can have your opinion, but you can't just put pain and suffering on folks because you
falsehood.
Right.
Pure falsehood. Yeah.
Right. At the end of the day, I understand that people have their opinions. People have certain political sides they stand on. Some may be Republican, some may be Democrat. There may be certain ways you stand on certain things. There may be certain folks in office that you like and you dislike. Mm-hmm. Listen, Here's what I tell folks. Understand this. Everybody ain't gonna like the same thing. I like lemonade, but I might not like lemonade the way you like it. You might
strawberry
like
lemonade. You might not like strawberry
right,
lemonade.
right. You might like your lemonade with how many cups of sugar. I might not even like sugar. I might want some artificial sweetener in my lemonade.
Exactly.
But guess what? It doesn't mean you're right and I'm wrong. I'm right and you're wrong. It just
Preference.
means we're different with
Preference.
different preference. And we've got to learn some way, somehow, to begin to agree to disagree without falling out with each other. And guess what? The copycat syndrome is running rampant too. So guess what? I said this, and I'm not going to use another person's saying from their podcast, but I meant every word I said of this. You know, sadly these days and times, bruh, people will first watch you, then they'll criticize you and gossip about you, and then they'll try to take the best parts of whatever you're doing, reform it, reshape it, and do it their way, and swear to God that they came up with this great idea that really wasn't their idea. It was they really watched you and took the best parts of you and then tried to put it together. Now, look, I ain't got no problem with that. As I told the person who called me today about my situation, I don't mind nobody saying anything about me. I have did wrong. I have made mistakes. When I was in radio, there was times I opened up the mic and said things I shouldn't have said, but I have always been truthful and earnest that charge it to my head and not my heart. Yeah. I was trying to do in the heat of passion the best I could at that time. I made my share of mistakes. Now, here's going to be the crazy thing. I'm already back on real radio. Now, folks are like, okay, yeah, we hear you on Saturday from 11 to 2. Now, knowing I'm about to be back on real radio in another way is going to really mess some heads up, but that's neither here nor there. Here's what I got to say to folks. Be mindful how you treat folks when you think they're down and out.
Woo! Preach.
Be mindful. Preach. Because
communicate.
Right. Communicate. Because you know, somebody uses this statement around me lately. Be humble. Be humble. Well, I say, wait a minute. First of all, I'm at the point I got to start checking my sources when people tell me stuff. First of all, humble can be a verb or adjective. How are we using this?
Correct.
Then when you hit them with that, they go, oh, whoa, wait a minute. So let me get this. I need to be humble when it comes to dealing with you. Right. But when it comes to you dealing with me, you can be arrogant. Correct. Oh, no, sir. See, things have to be a win-win. We both have to be at a place where we're on a even keel.
Communicate, brother. Communicate.
Right, yeah. Where everything works out to the greater good of not me or you, but to those who are trying to help. See, I ask people all the time, if you really who you say you are, you don't care if people know you or not.
It don't matter. Right. It doesn't change anything.
Right.
It don't change nothing. You know, I look at Muhammad Ali. You know me. I'm a big Muhammad Ali fan.
Come on.
If you look around my office, everything in here is Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali have a quote where he says, it ain't bragging if it's true.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when people talk about be humble, okay, I can be humble, but if what I'm saying is true, is that not being humble?
Right.
You know, if I say, you know, I'm really good at what I do, does that mean I'm not humble?
Right. Because guess what? Somewhere along the line, we can't have an oxymoron. Correct. You know, you can't say be humble, but the truth will set you free. Wait a minute. Correct. Hold up.
Yeah.
Be humble, but the truth. So wait a minute. If I'm the coldest point guard in the world and my numbers show it, and I tell you, man, I'm the coldest point guard in the world. Well, you
am I not humble?
Wait a minute. I told you the truth. And if the truth will set you free, so here's what you want me. Do you want me to lie?
Hey, all I'm gonna say is I'm the greatest. Now, where that stand from? I'm the greatest. He said it ain't bragging if it's true. So I've been given, well, it's because I did come up with it. I had a variant. I'm not gonna say any names because I don't want no folks to be outside my classroom picketing. There's a very famous organite that had a problem with me. She said that I was very arrogant. And so I told her when we were in talking, I said, well, I don't have a problem with you saying I'm arrogant. Here's the difference. I look at you and I am in awe of all of your accomplishments. You have done so much in the field of education, not just at Alcorn, but around the country. And I acknowledge that. And she was sitting back like, taking it all in. And this is where she went crazy. I said, but I've done some things too.
Okay, that's hold it. It's nothing wrong.
I've done, and when I said that, she went, I said, see, your problem is you're willing to receive all of the accolades, but you can't handle someone else getting accolades. I respect you and all you've done, but I've done some things too.
People,
and baby, that thing. So I came up with this, Brother Dupree, and this,
give it to me.
I'm gonna put it on a t-shirt.
I said,
you calling me arrogant is your problem with my self-confidence. I'm not going to downplay my self-confidence to make you feel comfortable. So you calling me arrogant and conceited, that's your problem with my self-confidence.
Right.
I'm not going to downplay that.
Right.
And my students, can I write that down? I say, oh, you can take it. I'm going to let you have it.
Run with that. Run with that.
Take that one.
You know, I tell people this. I told somebody this today. I said, first of all, just because you're not guilty doesn't mean you're innocent.
Correct.
And most folks want you to do good. They just don't want you to do better than them.
True. Exactly. So,
and it all lies on communications.
And I was about to say, her problem with the whole exchange was that I was able to communicate what I was saying to her and not be malicious in my intent. I really did admire her. I really did stand in awe of all she had done, not just for Alcorn. There's buildings named after her on that campus.
Mm-hmm.
I said, but if you check my resume, I've done some things too, and that's your problem. As long as people bow and throw palms for you to walk on when you walk around campus, you're good. I said, but you know what? You and I didn't attend Alcorn. I went to Southern University.
The Southern University.
So I only met you last year when I started teaching here.
Okay.
I didn't know about you until, as you say, I started to hear and look, and people started to tell me, and you told me. And I was honored to be in the same, university with you.
I didn't know you were the Queen of Lorman.
I did not know you were the Queen of Lorman. I didn't. And so I did not know. And everybody was like, I can't believe, she doesn't care for you. I said, well, I didn't know who she was. And I think she took offense to that, but I didn't go here. I said, on the other hand, all of y'all kiss her ass, and I don't kiss her ass. I feel like we're colleagues. Oh my God. Yeah. She doesn't float. She walked like I walk.
Last time I checked.
Yeah, last time I checked, she walked like I. So I was able to communicate that with her. And here's the thing. At the end, I believe she maybe would never say it, not just how I like to assume. I believe she respects me for being able to communicate that I did not have anything against her. I really did like her, and I looked up to her, and I thought she was an extremely good educator and an extremely good role model for HBCUs.
Right.
Her problem was anyone that did not all hail her received the wrath. They got her wrath.
And there are people who truly,
you got to be able to communicate safely. Right. You got to communicate in safe environments.
There are people out there who are truly good people and do great things. Listen, anybody who does what I do, I respect them, because guess what? I understand. Any city I drive through, there's a McDonald's, by a Burger King, by a Wendy's. There's a Popeyes, by Arby's, by churches. So it's your choice where you go to eat, and you might not eat at the same place every time. But at the end of the day, variety is the spice of life. And at the end of the day, I don't down nobody who do what I do. I tell people all the time, you need to go out there and listen to everybody's video podcast. You
Yep.
need to see what they're saying, but do this for me. Whatever you do, check the source, because sometimes I have to go back and check some things I said and say, okay, Joe, you said this out of emotion, but it wasn't factual. So
Correct.
then you go, and then I'll come back and I'll self-correct myself. I say, hey, y'all, remember y'all heard me say such and such. Well, after further review, I figured out that some things were not the way I thought it was. Listen, you got to be very careful out here in this space called social media, because everything you say can be played back. It can be fact checked. And then folks can say, well, let me understand this. You can dish it out, but you can't take it. And you don't want that. You want to always have folks to say this: rain, sleet, snow, or hail. I tell you this, unless we're dealing with some serious issues with our own personal health or a member of our family's personal health, every Wednesday, regardless if one person show up or if 10,000 folks show up, we're going to be on here from 8 to 9. Just like tonight, we done went 6 minutes over, and it don't feel like it, because we're really here to try to make you understand. I'm going to tell you things that I have slipped, fell, broke my neck, made the biggest mistake, put the shoe in my mouth, had to eat the shoe leather, where you don't have to make those same mistakes. If a person really cares about you, they will tell you, here are the mistakes I have made. This is the road I see you going down. There is a big pothole in the middle of that road. Now, if I tell you it's a pothole in the middle of the road and you still hit it, you can't say I didn't tell you.
That was your choice. Yep.
Right. Communication. Close us out, brother. It's on you.
All right. I think that tonight we really touched upon so many different things, but communication is absolutely mandatory towards your mental health. The ability to have someone to talk to about those things that are important to you, that are significant to you, that you find very, very, very valuable. Find someone that will be willing to listen to you and talk to you. And until you can find someone, write it down. Every phone these days have a recorder on it. Record, get it out. Find some way to allow yourself to communicate in a healthy manner, because it is very important to your well-being. And like we always say, if nobody else told you today, we love you. And we'll see you next week